Hey, how you doing? My name's Ryan, and today I'm reviewing knockoff and custom LEGO minifigures based on Thor Love and Thunder. I bought 3 batches of figures off of BrickPanatoys.com from some of the most popular off-brand figure companies, Xinh, WMBlocks, and Koruit. And since they all made similar looking characters with the exact same outfits, I figured for the first time I could go head to head to see which company made the best version of each character. But before we do that, I'm going to review each figure individually, so let's start off with Xinh and Ravenger Thor. An overall pretty dark design, especially with the dark red accents on the torso. I'm not the biggest fan either of the added print work on the arms. It makes them look more vascular and less muscular. The face here looks a little bit off, mostly in design, not so much color, but I do like the hair used here. And of course, as always, the main draw for these figures is the custom accessories, and we get a pretty nice looking Stormbreaker here. Now, each company made their own custom Stormbreaker, so I'll be sure to note which one I think is best when we go head to head. But for this figure as a whole, I think it's fine. It's not really that great, but it's not that terrible either. But how about our next figure, Star-Lord? This figure, unfortunately, is a lot worse than Thor. The torso and legs are barely readable without raising my camera's light levels, and you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of these cloth jackets either. The face also looks very little like Star-Lord, but the hair is technically correct. But yeah, on the whole, this Xinh Star-Lord is kind of a dud. Here's hoping that's not the case with our next figure, Gore the God Butcher. My first impression of this figure is quite good, as the torso, leg printing, arm printing all look phenomenal here. I like the amount of line work and detailing on the torso, as it's not overwhelming, but it also has enough detail to look more than just like a mummy. The face print doesn't really look like Gore the God Butcher, but it does look very much like the official Gore figure. And while I'm not the biggest fan of the hard plastic cape, we do get a hood piece, which I believe was sorely missing from the official figure. And the Necrosword is just a black sword. Not much to say about that. And while overall I think this figure is pretty good, the official figure set a really low bar though. Kinda easy to beat. But how about our next character, Korg? This knockoff is one of the worst ones I've seen in a while. Over-designed, too many lines, too dark, not enough real pops of color, and the face looks nothing like Korg to begin with. This is the kind of figure you'd expect to pay $1 for because it really looks like only $1 of work has gone into it. Everything about this figure just isn't that great, and that's a darn shame because Korg is a great character and he deserves better. But how about our next figure, Valkyrie? It's odd in that this Valkyrie figure is closer in design to her What If and Ragnarok look than her Thor Love and Thunder look. But for what we get, it's not bad. The line work is clean, the colors are clean, the amount of contrast is a little bit low, and again, I'm not the biggest fan of the printing on the arms. Zeus's Thunderbolt is a little bit lazy here, but it does the job, I guess. This is the kind of figure I'd expect we get like 2 or 3 years ago, not for Thor Love and Thunder, but it's fine. How about our next character, Thor? Again, I think the best part of this figure, oddly enough, is the 2 capes, the tan on top representing his fur and the red cape beneath of it. Everything else is a little bit subpar. The abundance of line work is not well rendered here. The beard on the face and hair don't match in color at all, and it's really distracting. And the design of the main face doesn't look that good, but the alternate face looks a lot better if you ask me. Yeah, I don't think this figure does justice to the one and only Thor. But then again, there's more than one Thor now. So how about the mighty Thor? Xinh really went all out with this figure here. The custom molded and painted chest piece looks phenomenal, the way the cape attaches to it is great, the helmet mold looks pretty good, and the custom cracked Mjolnir is perfect here. This is the kind of accessory LEGO could only dream of making. It's that good. However, the face under the mask is pretty laughable if you ask me, with the eyes being way too high and way too wide. If you keep the mask on this figure though, it's pretty darn good. I'm really impressed with just how much there is on this figure. Now, we have one more figure left in this batch, and of course, it's Thor. Much like the Jane Foster figure, this Thor goes all out, with the chest plate, added cape, incredible helmet, and great color palette overall. Even the face underneath the helmet looks better, but the alternate, not so much. The sheer amount of printing on this figure makes me realize just where Xinh's energy was when making this batch. It was on those last 2 figures for sure. And I think it was worth it, as those 2 were the highlight of the Xinh batch of Thor Love and Thunder figures. Let's move on to our second batch, this one from WMBlocks, and our first figure will be, again, Ravenger Thor. This figure is bright and bold, but lacks the amount of contrast to really pull off those colors. This issue is especially visible in the white t-shirt. Look how gray it is when it should be that bright, vibrant white. Again, not the biggest fan of the arm printing, and the face does look a lot more fun, even if the beard does not match the hair color at all. This Thor figure has all the wonderful colors and fun you'd expect from a Taika Waititi character, but without the quality you need to make it work. But how about our next figure, Star-Lord? I'm not sure why either of these companies can't get a knockoff Star-Lord figure right. The detail on the torso and legs are barely visible as the reds and browns kind of just meld together. That being said, the face and hair do look closer to Star-Lord, which is good, I guess. And I find it kind of funny that I've never seen a knockoff Star-Lord minifigure that improves upon the Star-Lord gun featured in the official LEGO minifigure. It's like they got it perfect the first time and never could improve upon it. But speaking of improvements, how about our next figure, Gore the God Butcher? This Gore figure has almost an entirely different art style to every other figure we've seen so far today. This one feels almost like an anime character. And that's kind of good and bad. Good in that it makes this Gore figure stand out, but bad in that it doesn't feel cohesive with the rest of the characters. The face on this figure really captures the look of Gore beautifully. However, I'm not the biggest fan of the giant block of white just below his face on the torso. As for the Necrosword, it's a different mold of sword, longer and thinner and a bit more ornate, and I think it works pretty well here. The one-piece hood and cape, I'm ambivalent to. It's neither good nor bad. Now, while WMBlocks did not make a Korg figure, they did make a Beta Ray Bill figure. I am really mixed on this figure as it includes the best and worst elements of knockoff and custom minifigures. The bad is the over-designed torso and legs, way too busy, way too hard to focus on any one element. But the good is just so good here. The custom molded face is just perfect and beautiful to look at. And the custom gold Stormbreaker, the actual Stormbreaker from the comics, not the movie Stormbreaker, also looks really beautiful here. I love the way this gold shimmers and stands out. This is the kind of custom minifigure where I would scour through my Marvel collection to see if I can find a better torso and legs, because if I can find a better body here, this figure deserves a spot in the Knockoff Hall of Fame. It's that good. Well, the parts that are good are that good. But how about our next figure, Valkyrie? This figure kind of has the opposite issue of Beta Ray Bill, in that the torso and legs are really well designed and perfectly balanced, while the face and hair don't really look like Valkyrie. Honestly, they look closer to Shuri or any of the Black Panther characters. The Valkyrie sword here does look really nice. I love the blade design and I love the smaller crossguard. If the face on this figure looked a bit more like Valkyrie, I think we'd be in business here. But how about our next Thor figure? Thor. The abundance of white and gold lines on this black torso and legs really don't work here. It makes the figure look more black and gray as opposed to black, white, and gold. The arm printing is pretty atrocious here. The hair piece is actually custom and looks pretty darn good, but again does not match the color of the beard. It's like these off-brand and knockoff figure creators never learned from the first couple of Thor figures where they had a yellow hair and brown beard. It just looked wrong then, and it just looks wrong now. And while I appreciate the new mold on Mjolnir, the blue patterning on it just doesn't look that good. It's supposed to be lightning, but it doesn't read like that at all. Kind of a darn shame there, but how about Mighty Thor? A really busy design on the torso and legs with a bunch of really thin lines, but it's overall pretty readable. I'm surprised by that. The helmet mold looks good too, the face looks a little bit red and not the right color of skin tone, and the Mjolnir piece, as mentioned before, is kind of lackluster. It's funny that when I think knockoff LEGO Mighty Thor figure, this is almost exactly what I picture. A bit over-designed, pretty good overall, trying to do new things but not doing them all too well. Here's hoping that's not the case with our last figure in this batch, Thor Again. This design looks more like it's from the Eternals than Thor Love and Thunder. Lots of color, lots of lines, lots of detail, but unlike the Mighty Thor figure, this one's harder to read. Also, the face design would have been good if not for these almost clip art-like lightning eyes. Although I do like the larger Stormbreaker, that's a nice touch. WMBlocks certainly took a different direction with these figures than XI&H, and that's the whole point of this video. But we have one more batch of figures left, and it's from Koruit. And of course, our first figure will once again be Ravenger Thor. This figure gets right what a lot of figures haven't done so yet in this video. Great color contrast, the whites are white, the blacks are blacks, the reds are reds, the hair color finally matches the beard color, and even though there is some arm printing here, it looks more like muscle and less like veins. That being said, I'm still not a fan of trying to print muscle onto arms. And we also get a third custom Stormbreaker piece, and I can't wait to compare all three to see which one is best. Now, while Koruit did not make a Star-Lord figure, they did make another Guardian of the Galaxy, Groot. I'm pretty stunned how close this figure looks to the official one, at least on first glance. Obviously, like most knockoffs, this figure does more arm printing, back printing, leg printing, side printing, but the look of it really evokes the official Groot figure. In fact, put side by side with the official, you can tell the slight differences are there between the face and the torso design, but had I not put them side by side, I'm not sure I would have been able to point out what's different between this Koruit figure and the official one. That's a good knockoff. Oh, and we also get this weird sci-fi gun. Looks pretty cool. Might give it to Rocket. But how about our next figure, Gore the God Butcher? I think this Gore figure does a good job elevating the official design, but I don't think it does enough, and I don't think it looks like Gore the character. So while the torso print, leg print, arm printing, and face printing look good, I just think the whole is lesser than the sum of its parts. Although speaking of parts, we do get a really great custom Necrosword here. The way it's chipped and torn and has some battle damage is just a great touch. Okay, our next Koruit figure is Korg. This is a really impressive knockoff figure. Great contrast, great colors, great print work. The quality overall is really impressive. The face print is fun and looks just like Korg, and I love the custom weapon here. I love we finally get this in a piece rather than a build. This is the kind of quality I've expected from high caliber Marvel knockoff LEGO minifigures. But how about our next character, Valkyrie? Another really solid figure here. There's detail but restraint in the torso and leg printing. The face, while the mouth looks a little bit too small, still looks good overall. And while the sword mold looks really good here, I'm not sure why it's blue. I could understand if the handle was blue, but I'm not sure why the whole thing is blue. Either way, I don't think it detracts from what overall is a good knockoff Valkyrie figure. Now, Koruit did not make one of the Thor figures. Instead, it made Zeus. And pardon the pun, but my god, this figure is gorgeous. The color work on it, the printing, the gold, the detail, all of it's visible with high color contrast, and it looks fantastic. The face looks just like Russell Crowe's Zeus. Both the alternate and the regular face look great, and the lightning bolt is just phenomenal. I love the way he can grab it in the middle. It looks great, feels right, and this figure is immediately going into my knockoff Hall of Fame. No contest there. 2 more to go, and up next is Mighty Thor. I think Koruit has found a really good balance of copying the official figures, but adding that little bit extra. This Mighty Thor looks just like the official, but adds the arm printing, extra leg printing, and a brand new Mjolnir mold. The face under the mask looks pretty good, even if the eyes are a little bit high. We also get another hardened plastic cape with those 2 3-dimensional circles on the front. Pretty solid figure overall, but will it be the best of all 3 Mighty Thors? We'll find out soon, but we have one more figure left to review, and it's Thor Again, which honestly should have been the name of this movie, Thor Again. There are some really nice pops of black and gold and blue on this figure. It's almost hard to tell which color is the main base one, and that's kind of cool to see. While the arm printing is lackluster, I think the helmet mold looks phenomenal here. The face underneath the helmet also looks really good, both the smile and the neutral face. And again, the added black 3-dimensional dots attached to the hard plastic cape are a great touch. There's almost an overabundance of printing on this character, but it just pulls back enough to make it look balanced. So those are all of the Thor Love and Thunder knockoff figures, but which company did the best for each character? In the battle of the Ravenger Thors, I think the clear winner here is Koruit. The design and print work all are fantastic. However, I think that XINH has the best Stormbreaker, both in scale and in color. In the Battle of the Star-Lords, neither are really that good, but if I had to pick a winner, it'd probably be WMBlocks for a better face design, although both pale in comparison to the official Star-Lord minifigure. As for Gore the God Butcher, this one is tough as there are elements in each figure that I really like, although I have to give the win to WMBlocks for foregoing LEGO's official design for the figure and making one that's closer to the character. Although, points for Koruit for making the far superior Necrosword. And to be fair, all of these figures are better than the official LEGO Gore the God Butcher. In the Battle of the Korgs, there's no question, Koruit is the clear winner. And to be fair, I think this knockoff is even better than the official figure. And that's saying something, because the official one looks really good too. As for Valkyrie, I think my favorite might be WMBlocks. Although I think the face on Koruit is the best. But if I had to pick a winner, yeah, I think it's WMBlocks. Although if I'm being honest, I think the official LEGO figure of Valkyrie is the best out of all of them. For the black and gold Thor figures, I think neither of them are winners, so let's call it a tie. But like the bad kind of tie, not because I can't pick a loser, but because I can't pick a winner. In the Battle of the Mighty Thors, while I love the XINH figure and how much effort it puts into it, especially the cracked hammer, I think the winner here is the Koruit figure. It's just clean, crisp, and an elevation of the official Jane Foster figure. And finally, Battle of the Thors, I think the winner here again is Koruit for just a really crisp design and a really clean helmet and a great face underneath that helmet as well. Although again, I think the XINH Stormbreaker is better here. And if I'm being honest, I think these figures are a step above the official Thor figure. The addition of the helmet alone elevates these knockoffs beyond what LEGO made. So those are my picks for the Thor Love and Thunder knockoff head-to-head-to-head challenge. Let me know which company you think made the best knockoff figures in the comment section down below. I had a great time reviewing these Thor Love and Thunder minifigures, and it's great to see different companies approach the same characters in different ways. So if you have any other knockoffs you want me to look at, or maybe two companies doing the same figure, let me know in the comment section down below as well. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.